Hello and welcome back to Grid and Grind Podcast. My name is Justin. A lot of you guys know me. I own and manage Team 53. We're primarily a sim racing team, but we also have a real life racing component. You can follow us Facebook, LinkedIn. Yeah, I don't think we have an Instagram, but you can find us Facebook, team53racing.com. It's on the bottom of your screen if you're watching on YouTube. Back with me again this week is everyone's favorite Porsche Sprint Challenge driver, Tank Dino. Tank
How's it going,
has,
guys?
I mean, let's just start off with the elephant in the room. What a background you have this week, sir.
Well, I don't like showing my background, so this time I was able to get a background. I was surprised it worked. I must have gotten the proper update.
Yeah, I mean, this is what do we got going on back there? We got like arcade bug hunt.
Yeah, like computer
You're
screens.
you're going crazy this week.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those days today. It's pouring in Oregon. It's cold, and I decided to. And it's dark, so it's that vibe of like you're in a dark, like computer, like you're in your basement or something type deal. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. A little bit. I get it. I mean, it's nice and fun. We'll kind of enjoy it. It's been a busy week for us. A lot of stuff's going on behind the scenes. Some stuff that we can't quite talk about yet. Got to wait for some paperwork and things of that nature to be filed. But what are some things that we can share with people that we have going on? So you've got what is it? Sonoma's coming up here in like another month, I want to say.
Yeah.
And we're still looking for some sponsorship to get you to Sonoma. So if anybody is
Yes.
is watching this, listening to this, whatever it might be, hit us up. You can get to Tank by talking to me at Team 53 Racing, or there will be a link to Tank's email in the description on this podcast. So, what else we have going on?
That is a good question. Today, what are we going to talk about? Hmm, that is a good question. Like I said, I'm actually, drinking coffee at like 3:30 in the afternoon my time. Yeah, it's a
It's
long day.
always
I was,
always a good one when you're drinking coffee at this time of day. So, um, luckily for all of us,
well,
I do have an agenda for the show, and some things that we can talk about. So, big thing is let's kind of talk about Porsche Sprint Challenge. I believe they had their first race. Was that this weekend or last weekend? Last weekend.
uh, it was over the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. And you watched a
At
little bit
Sebring.
of it. Yep, you watched a little bit of it, even though you weren't going to be on track. So,
Mhm.
kind of, what are your thoughts on that?
Definitely excited, and just being able to watch the competition and how they are on track. There's a lot of new faces, some old one, but at the end of the day, there's definitely some new competition, and I definitely am excited to get on there and show them what I can do. And but yeah, it was a good weekend. Definitely a lot of bumping and rubbing. That's all I could say. You know, Definitely like the endurance side of things. I'm a big endurance. I prefer to race endurance. I just like to be able to be in a car for a long stint as opposed to a 35-minute race. But I'll take what I can race right now, really, to be honest.
So, the endurance version, that's what, 2 hour race? Hour and a half, 2 hours?
I think it's 2 hours, if
2 hours. Oof.
I remember
That's a,
correctly.
I mean, that's a double stint on iRacing. That's definitely doable. It's not terrible.
Yeah.
Um, so let's kind of talk about what does like a 2 hour stint actually feel like inside the car. So the longest I've really ever been in a car was I think maybe like 30 minutes for like a 50 lap race or something like that. So I've never really been in for that long. So what do you see when you're in a car that long?
You'll see some wild things. But with me, I get in this like like almost like tunnel vision where I'm just the moment I get in the car, I'm buckled in and I'm making my way down pit lane, going into track entry, just getting comfortable, readjusting, and then by the like end of that lap, I'm like, okay, let's go. Like, getting myself up to speed, and just adapting to and finding that pocket where I can get comfortable so I can get faster. Because if you're in a pocket and there's just a bunch of things going around, it's really hard to focus and get settled. But,
Yep.
you know, once you find that comfort zone and you're able to like, okay, I got myself up to speed, now I can go after it. And yeah, that's one of my favorite part of being in the car for the first, like, my first stint. And then after that, it's pretty much just going after it. Okay, talking to my crew chief. Okay, where's the next person that I need to catch? The person in front of me. And what I'll do is start putting laps down and just make sure my lap times are very consistent. And yeah, and just keep going after it. And eventually, one lap becomes 10, 10 laps becomes 20. Then all of a sudden, oh, you're already pitting in. It's already 2 hours into your
Yep.
stint. You're done. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, I think having run Bathurst 12 hour just a few weeks ago on iRacing, I think a lot of what you were describing of like when you get in that car for that first time and you just really want to settle in and it's calming those nerves the first couple laps and really kind of being able to focus and rein in before you start doing all of the crazy stuff, you know. And then two, you add in it's like the worst that the tires are going to be too. I don't know,
Yeah.
because they're cold, there's no grip, and so you get out there and the car you have to drive it differently than what you might. And like on the sim side, it's really interesting because we can kind of cheat a little bit and we can be running sim sessions before we get in the car to kind of shake off the rust and get used to things and kind of simulate what that feels like. But then when we get in the car, the track always feels different. So it's just kind of interesting there, um, on that aspect where I guess, when you're on the real track, you can't really do that. You're just getting in cold basically.
I mean, yeah, you're technically, I mean, of course, there's always practice prior to that, but even then, like, depends too on the driving order. I've been fortunate enough, I either start the race or I finish the race. And that's been the finishing the race part is really tough because you're really just trying to figure out what you're going to do for the next however long before your stint. And I was able to experience that at Thunderhill, for one of the Lucky Dog races we ran, and it was just like, when is it my turn to get in the car? Like,
Right.
please don't crash, don't damage the car because it would suck that I waited all this time and I don't get my chance to get in the car. You know what I mean? So,
I had that
um,
happen when we ran the Daytona 24 on iRacing this year.
mhm,
My stint wasn't until like 6 or 8 hours into the race, and we had already made the determination. We were basically everybody in every stint that they had had. So when they first got in the car, every session that they were in the car, they each wrecked once. So by the time I got in the car, we like looked at it and we're 4 laps behind the car in front of us, and the next car behind us is parked already. So it's like pretty much no matter what we did, we weren't going to pick up a spot, and we just kind of decided
mhm,
to abandon ship at that point. So it sucks, but I've been through that. And on the real racing side of it, like you put all that prep time in getting ready to go to the race, the flights to get there, the hotels, the RVs, like whatever it is, right? You've put all of that in and then you crash out before you even get in the car. That sucks. On the sim side, like we started working on Sebring, which isn't for another couple weeks on iRacing, immediately after Bathurst finished 2 weeks ago. So we've got like 6 weeks of prep work, which you do that for the real car too, but we've got 6 weeks of prep work to get ready for Sebring, and there's a good chance that by the time I get ready to race, we're not even gonna be able to get in the car. So um, it's just kind of interesting to see the similarities between the sim side and real racing side, which I think kind of brings us to the next thing of like there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes whether it's sim racing or real racing, but at the high levels, so Porsche Sprint Challenge, Porsche Sprint Cup, or Endurance Challenge, what kind of surprises you the most about racing at that level or getting ready to race at that level?
You gotta be prepared. The competition is definitely a lot different. The drivers, a lot more aggressive, um, a lot more organized. I want to say, is that the right word? Organized. I mean, as far as like with club racers, man, they'll literally just throw that nose into any hole that they can fit in. Where pro racing, they're patient. It's an art. They're like, okay, and they kind of all the drivers kind of know how most drivers react and their type of move. Well, that's like for me, for example, like other competitors that I competed with, it's like, okay, I know that guy, he won't pass on the inside or he won't pass on the outside. And, you'll start reading other drivers and what they can, how they drive, and you just learn from it, I guess. And for me, I'm just more relaxed and comfortable in the car because, you know, I know, I mean, yeah, there'll be times where you'll have one driver that just like wasn't using their head,
Yep.
you know, and then you'll have other then you'll have other drivers that will be, most of the drivers are more level headed and they're all about, let's finish the race. Let's avoid as much crashes, or running into each other. And pretty much, yeah, I mean, that's one thing I like about racing in the pro level.
Do
It's
you
just the
think,
camaraderie's there.
yep, do you think that in racing at the pro level, right, the reason that guys race with their heads is because you're not racing a $15,000, you know, Honda Civic that is super cheap to repair. Like
Yeah,
you wreck out your P Cup car, your Porsche Cup car, and it's $100,000 for a tub.
yeah.
You
That's
know,
one of the other reasons too. People are definitely more. They don't want to stroke a check for 100 grand. You know.
right, right. I can
They're
imagine doing that once is painful enough, but then like having to do that twice in a season, like that probably hurts pretty bad.
in less than 6 months. We have I know of a driver. I'm
Yep,
not going to say names, but yeah, when I found out he was testing out in Sonoma recently, he literally hit a wall. Wasn't too bad, but it definitely needs another retub. And
yep.
what sucked about it is it was literally less than, I want to say, 4 months prior. He hit that. They were out testing at Sonoma again and a different turn, but, you know, did something very similar and pretty much
Hmm.
had to do a retub. And he just got the car too. What really sucks about it is his first time in a cup car, and it was pretty much he just got the car, and it was his first time testing that car, and it's just so painful to watch and see.
Do you think some of that, like when the issues arise, so like in the sim, and I talk about this all the time, right? In the sim, you can race pretty much to the edge of the limits every single lap. So every lap you're pushing as hard as you can, and if you go over the limit, it really doesn't matter because worst case scenario, you're going to hit the reset button and you might have to wait for a tow if it's in a race or if it's in a practice, like you just spawn back at the pits and away you go. But in real life, if you're pushing it beyond, I'll say beyond your skill level, right? Because the car has a limit, but most of us will never reach the car's limit. We're pushing it past our own personal skill level. Do you think that that kind of causes some of these issues where guys are just pushing too hard too soon and they're trying to do too much, thinking that they're Superman because these cars they drive phenomenally, but they just have to like ease into it a little bit more.
It's all about respecting that car. It's what, you know, because at the end of the day, if you're not respecting that car and you're driving beyond your limits, you're definitely going to be writing a nice check for a new retub. That's all I'm going to say. It's, and I've learned that lesson the hard way. As I didn't have to retub a car, but it's definitely slowed down
Right.
my season for me to get on track. But at the end of the day, it takes some people it takes one time, sometimes it takes two, maybe even three. But at the end of the day, it's avoiding those moments
Yep.
of totaling out a car because it definitely will hurt you in the future. And then if you see it from, for example, like some of the drivers that are paid drivers to run this car, you know, they might have a harder time getting another seat somewhere. And then another key factor is how aggressive is he on the equipment? Because if you're aggressive on the equipment, that adds up to your, at the end of the day, when the car's in the pits, okay, this car was driven really hard. We need to replace some suspension pieces. We need to replace a clutch possibly, replace the brakes. You know, that's another thing too that you have to be cautious to when, racing too, is pretty much how aggressively you drive. And pretty much, you just don't want to have that mark as the guy that drives aggressively beats on the
Right.
cars, and then you'll have a hard time just getting another ride with someone else.
Yeah, I feel like that's something too, like on the sim side of stuff, we don't really think about that much, is how hard and how aggressive we're running the car. So when you're jumping over a curb, like in real life, that's a skid, that's a skid plate, that's your shock, your spring, like all of that is getting used, let alone your control arms and stuff. But when you're on the sim, like you just hit a curb and it's like, oh, no big deal. I just hit a curb. Like we're we're good. It's faster if I go over this
Yeah.
curb this way, but then in real life it's like, yeah, it might be faster, but it's going to cost you 20 grand at the end of the race. Like how bad do you want that? And that's something kind of to think about too. I know you and I, Sydney had her race with Shift Up Now, which is a great foundation for women who want to get in racing. I highly recommend it. You guys can Google them. You can donate to them. It helps with grants and sponsorship funding and stuff for females, which Tank and I are neither. But Sydney runs in an iRacing league. She had her last race last night at Mosport in the GT4s Mustangs. And what was really, really interesting to me was seeing her progression over these last four races that they've had um, on the opening laps. So it's really no secret. Like she races here. This is our sim rig. Like this is where she is, and I'll usually stand, right over her shoulder here, and I will kind of coach her through the first couple laps. And I felt like last night I really didn't have to do that much, and it was a really weird feeling for me. So I'm just kind of curious for you, like the first couple laps of the race, those are usually on the roadside. They're some of the more intense moments of the race too, because once you guys kind of get spread out a little bit, you sort things out, you know, you're just kind of where you're going to be for the race, unless somebody has a big mistake. But kind of for you, how intense first couple laps?
It's pretty intense, especially if you are starting the race when you're all bunched up, you know, in formation before the green flag drops. It's pretty much just like, what hole am I going to attack? And most of the time, I go outside because at the end of the day, if I go inside, I can get stuck. At least at the outside, I can always just make my way around
Right.
somehow. Even if it means going on the grass a little bit.
That's a 1X
You
in
know,
iRacing if we do that. It's an instant point going off onto the grass, so we can't do that very
yeah.
much.
Um, and it's like everybody's fighting for position. Everybody, I'm like, and I get it. And the younger version of me would be like that turn will make or break me. That
Yep.
turn um, will be the defining factor of how this race would look like for me, or what it would be. And I've had some bad starts, especially in my younger days. That's pretty much knocked me out of a race. And so I think that's one of the main reasons why I like endurance racing too, is because it's a longer stint. It's a longer
Yep.
time that you're in the car. So you don't have to make those aggressive passes you know, and just go all for it for that one corner. You can actually like, okay, let's play it smart here. Let's live to my dad always tells me, live to for the next turn,
Yep.
pretty
Yeah, I say
much.
that to Sydney a lot too, is like, if you're too aggressive going into this turn, you're not going to make it to the next corner. And if, like, there was a moment last night in her race where I was really disappointed in the moment that she lifted and let a guy kind of, they were side by side going into a corner, and she lifted because she was on the outside of it to let him kind of, he had inside position, and then she tucked in behind. And I was really, really upset in the moment that she gave up that. I felt like she gave up that spot to the guy. I knew she was faster than him, but then like 4 corners later, in true racer form, he blew the corner and she was just able to go zoom right past him. Um,
Yeah.
but then like we went back and looked at it after the race, and this is where we kind of have a little bit of an advantage, right? Is that we can take pretty much
Mm,
any camera angle we want and we can look at what happened. And when I looked at it
yeah.
after the race, I was like, no, she actually made the right decision in letting him go because of like he had a little bit better position on her going into the corner, but then she was also going to be offline for the right hander. And it's the last 3 corners at Mosport, which, right hander, left hander, and then a right hander. So
Yeah.
it ended up working out, but it's one of those decision making choices, right, that we have to make as racers. And I feel like that racecraft and that understanding that I don't need to fill every hole and I don't need to pass every person in every corner at the first opportunity that I get. And I feel like that's where
Mm,
the sprint racer mentality is very much like I have very little time. If there's a caution, I'm not going to be able to get this position back. And so I have to take this opportunity or I have to make an opportunity. But then when you're in an
mm,
endurance race, you're like, I mean, we got 2 hours here. You're probably going to make a mistake. You know,
mm,
I'll just stay on your bumper and be ready to go when you do make a mistake type situation. Is that kind of
mm.
correct characteristic?
Yes and no. And it depends on the strategist and the crew chief too as well. Like, that's one thing I love having them
Yep,
there, because they'll definitely be like, no, you need to make the pass now. And and just that little push,
yep,
it definitely helps. And I guess it just depends on the timing, the position. Like, of course, when if you're the ending stint and there's 3 laps to go, definitely, yeah, you want to go
yeah,
for it,
yeah,
right? Um, if it's like you're in the middle of the race and there's another driver right behind you, it's going to be their next stint, then yeah, maybe, be patient with the pass.
yep,
And that's another thing I like about pro racing. We'll have spotters
yep,
at almost every corner, and pretty much they'll radio into the crew chief and they'll pretty much tell me, hey, you have the next car up is literally one corner away. Be prepared, and they'll give you the advice of how to take the car, or how to get around it, or where to go around it, at what turn, or they'll tell you, hey, just a heads up, the leader's coming up behind you, and just be prepared, and they'll usually tell me like, oh, who it is and what kind of car it is, so I can automatically prepare myself. Okay, it's a faster car. If it's this car, this guy does not care where he
Right.
passes as long as you give him the room to pass. So, um, but yeah.
Yeah, that was something last night. There were a couple fast cars that went off track early in the race, and they just got behind. And I kind of knew Sydney's pace, and I'm like, well, these guys qualified, a little bit ahead of her. She didn't have a terrible qualifying run. Like she ran great, especially for her skill level. And something we kind of talked about, me and her, is like when she's racing in this league, and this will be something that she's going to run into when she's in big car stuff, hopefully this fall, is you're you're like 5 years younger than everybody else that's on track. So the fact that one, that you're on track with them is great, but then two, the fact that you're showing enough maturity to not just run right through their bumper, like they're gonna notice that. And it's that
Oh yeah.
decision making. And when somebody is faster than you and they're behind you, the fact that you're not blocking them every single corner, like trying to race them to keep them behind, they're going to respect that and they're going to notice that. And I think it's, for me, it's really instilling that mentality of being a real racer by using the sim, and instilling kind of that decision making in her that like, hey, this guy's faster than me, I don't really need to race him right now. And there's part of
Yeah.
it too that is like, in the back of your head, if there's somebody fast and they made a mistake early in the race and they ended up behind you, what is the likelihood that they're going to make another mistake? To where they're going to end up back behind you. And if you try and hold them up, you're going to end up off track with them. So it's like,
Mhm.
like your dad says, live to fight for the next corner. And if
Yeah.
you're blocking people and you eventually get wrecked, like you're not going to make the next corner and you can't win a race. So, um,
Or you get
me
penalized for blocking.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, we don't in iRacing, but yes, you can be unless you protest somebody after the fact. But absolutely that's there. Um I mean, I feel like I've just kind of been grilling you with questions this week, but let's transition over and let's kind of talk about a little bit of the business side of racing. So you talked about something and it kind of hit me earlier where you're talking about guys that are really really aggressive with cars and they're really really rough on cars, and like the business side of that. So, we talked about major tub repairs and stuff like that, but just kind of walk me through, are you actively thinking about like, hey, if I take this curb really hard, like it's going to cost me money at the end of the day?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I do think about that. And my dad says, you got to stop thinking like that. You should trust your judgment and your experience. You know what's wrong and you know what's the right thing to do.
Yep.
So, you know, like when I was testing earlier this year with the Cup car at Thunderhill, I was told to stay off the curbs. I don't know what it is about the curbs. Sometimes it's, I don't if it's just a feeling or what. There's a couple times that I got on it, and but after that, I was like, nope, I'm not going to do that because at the end of the day, you know, it's first test of winter testing. You don't want to go out there and wreck the car
Right.
or cause more damage and then make a bigger bill to, at the end of the day. So now I'm just like, I mean, occasionally, yeah, I'll do it, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to go do it every lap. It's more now, let's get focused. We're trying to get it, we're chasing a championship this year.
Yep.
let's, you know, one way to do that is to stay consistent, get the right mentality, the or right mindset, and just focus and just do what you need to do so you can get there. Because when you do that and you start finishing your races and you're doing really well, it leads up to the business side of things too. Some people don't realize, like, for example, a championship definitely will help attract new sponsors.
Right.
Is they see, oh, okay, he's winning, he's good, and that equals more TV time, more interviews. um, you'll be on the podium. It's like, oh, look, he's on the podium. Like, it would be really cool if he had a suit that was, I don't know, one of our sponsors, right?
Yep.
That has their name all over it, right? Like, wouldn't that be cool to have that? So, to answer your question, yes.
Okay. Now, like when I'm coaching Sydney, just in her cart,
Mm,
real cart, we talk about like different types of curbs that are good to use, different types of curbs that are bad to use. And like basically if a curb is flat, more or less you can probably use it. But if it's raised up, at an angle at all, you don't necessarily want to touch it in a go-kart. Kind of similar pickup car still.
yes.
And then what about
And
like,
it just
yeah, keep going.
it also depends, like if you watch the Carrera Cup last year in Miami,
Yep.
they were they were aggressively going over those, excuse me, the curbs. And you know, sometimes it's like if you hit that curb a certain way, it's it's not cheating, but it's cutting the track shorter pretty much.
Yeah, and there
So
are
it's
certain
a
curbs.
slight.
Yeah, like there's certain curbs like when I was racing my late model, turn 1 and 2 at Jefferson, like you would get into the corner and you could drop it down on the rumble strips and it would like hook your left front and just rotate you right around the corner. So the guys were always like, "You look, if your car ever feels really tight, they're like, just drive it in, get the left sides on the rumble strips, and it's just
Yeah.
a cheat code and it'll turn around." And so there were
Yeah.
there were times last year when I was coaching Sydney and at a couple tracks, we're looking at line and like different things and I'm like, "Look, if you can get your right side on those rumble strips, it's just going to turn you right around." And she's like, "That doesn't make this doesn't make sense to me necessarily." And then she tried it and like she'd go over that bump and it or over the rumble strips and it just she's like, "I don't even have to steer."
Yeah.
So it's kind of a nice little cheat code for her. But you guys experience that? I mean, the same principle applies all the way up to Porsche
Yeah.
Cup.
Yeah, definitely. It it,
Interesting.
it
Um,
does.
so in talking about that, like rented ride drivers, like or like in your case, right, where you own the car, but then you have someone else
Mhm.
maintain it for you and prep it for the track. Like, what are things that you as a driver kind of when you're looking at other drivers, if somebody wanted to rent out your car, what are some things kind of that you're looking at for those people? Is it, you know, clean driver, doesn't tear up equipment, you know, can hold a conversation, a decent smile? Like what are those things, those keys to being able to rent an MDR Porsche?
You know, it definitely there has to be, well, if they're renting seat time,
Yep.
like for us for endurance race, it's definitely, are they, one, willing to listen, two, how aggressively are they treating the equipment, three, what kind of racing they've been doing. If they're so used to a Trans Am car and they're getting into one of our cars, they're going to completely drive differently. You know, the joke is, with Trans Am racers, they'll freaking, they don't care about the body. I mean, they care, but care to a certain extent, and they're fine doing a little nudging, bumping here
Right.
and there, with Trans Am racing. But at the end of the day, that costs money to repair. So I definitely some of the things that like I said, that we look at before we say, yeah, come on in, let's run this race. Of course, is you know the type of racing you're doing, uh, how long you've been racing, uh, uh, how we definitely like to call other teams and get like a reference, like, hey, who did you drive with before? What team? So, and we verify, like, okay, I'll talk to the other owner of the team and be like, yeah, he was actually good. No, no worries. Like, and then I would ask him, like, how was he on the equipment? How was his driving style? Was he very aggressive? And I've been lucky enough; they've been all great drivers. Um, at the end of the day, it's all about just building that team to win a race. And I try to stay away from the really younger drivers because they haven't experienced a lot yet.
Yep.
They're very young. So and I always refer back to me when I was young, when I was racing. I was that guy that says, "Oh, I race like there's no tomorrow." Like, I don't care. I'm gonna go for it. I would literally put my nose in every hole, and even though it would get shut on or hit a little bit, and it definitely cost me one of the races, it cost me a whole season because I ended up having to do so much work on the car
Yep.
that it just, unfortunately, I didn't get to finish out the season. So now it's just been like, I can't drive like that, and I can't have people driving that way either, because then it starts affecting sponsorships. It starts affecting the what do you call it? The type of team you are. Like, oh, watch out for them.
Your
You don't want to
reputation.
have that. There you go. Yeah, reputation on the track, because the racing community is a very small community. It
Yep.
doesn't matter if it's NASCAR, Indy, sports car racing. It's a small circle, pretty much.
It's pretty similar to that. I mean, even on the sim side of it, right? On iRacing, for those who aren't kind of into iRacing as much as I am, there's what are called like setup shops on iRacing. So they're basically teams of people that build setups and then they'll sell them to people, $5, $10, 15, whatever. And there's
Yeah,
a lot of teams that get a reputation as being dirty, because they encourage their drivers to win at all costs. There's a couple
yeah,
places that come to mind that I'm thinking of. Or there's been in the past beefs between setup shops, which are always amazing to me because it's typically like grown men that are fighting over a video game because somebody drove them dirty in a video game that doesn't matter outside of iRacing. But you have that on the sim side, and then like you have that in real life too. Where drivers get into beefs, they get into squabbles. I'm sure there's been situations in the past where, there's been three-car team or something like that, and one guy drives one teammate wrong, and the other teammate's like, well, I mean, screw that guy. You messed up my guy, so I'm gonna mess him back up.
yep, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I'm sure you see that occasionally, even at the peak up level, where guys are just like, I'm writing this guy off. He's a write-off at this point.
yeah.
Have you ever found yourself kind of in a beef like that with anybody, or you guys kind of take care of that before it blows up?
We definitely take care of it, and I these days, now that I'm much more older and
Right,
wiser, it's I was like, I just let it go. And that was one of the crew my what my crew chief likes about me now
right.
is the old me. I would literally go to your pit and
Yep,
talk, hey, what was that all about, and you know and it just escalate, and then for what? It
right.
just throws your weekend off. then you're just gonna go out there and try to go get them on the next race, you know, the following day. And now it's just like, let's go, you know. I mean, people watch, people will see, and they'll they'll either get penalized or they'll get a warning. But at the end of the day, just keep your nose clean, keep a level head, and just be calm, and you'll have more chances of winning because you're
Right.
focused. You're not driving with emotion, and that's some of the what I've seen with some of the drivers in sprint challenges. They some of them drive with their emotions, um, and it's so funny. Like even people, one of the drivers I know, like his pregame is a trip. Like he likes to get jacked. Like he'll drink like
Was this a guy you were telling me
either
about that does the double espresso shots and then he throws in a couple zins and just like
yeah
goes?
before the yeah before he hops in, and I'm just like, wow, like that. Can you only imagine him being in the car, just being like death grip steering wheel, and just like trying to go after like I
What's
can't do that.
what's your pre-race prep? Like what do you do before you get in the car? Are you like a bottled water guy? Are you a like what do you
Definitely hydration. Like either downing as much electrolytes um a Powerade or something that has a hydration,
Yep.
and I'm just constantly drinking that
We can
through,
shout out
you
Liquid
know,
IV on the podcast.
yeah,
Use code JL53 at checkout on Liquid IV's website.
right,
For those of you. That way, just to give you one that you can promote that's safe on here would be Liquid IV is the one. Um,
yeah. So hydration's one.
yep,
With me, bananas. I'm always having 1 to 2 bananas before I get in the car.
yep.
Cliff Bar, and then if I need to eat something, it's like protein shakes, smoothies,
Ooh,
and then
you're gonna
I
hate me at the track.
um that's pretty much it. I'm very health. It's so funny. We were talking about this a while just recently too, like me preparing like for a sim, right? Practice with sim. Like I can go get a cheeseburger from, and like have all the junk and run and I'm
See,
fine because it's just
that's
to me,
yeah, that's me. Is before, so when I was racing my late model, it was always bottled water. We always have a cooler full of ice with bottled water in the trailer. But then it's the chip bags, the variety pack. We grab those from Costco, and I'll snack on those all afternoon. And then we would always do after the drivers' meeting, we'd go over to the concession stands and grab a racetrack cheeseburger and fries and eat that before the race. Like it just, I don't know. There's something about a cheeseburger at a racetrack that like, y- you
oh
know,
yeah, I get it.
I'd never eat it otherwise, but like, just give me that. And I think,
I've done that at the end of the race, like or end of the like when
yeah,
we're all packing up. If if they're still open, definitely, especially if I know it's going to be
right,
something good on their menu, I
right.
definitely will at least try to get.
Sydney's a little better. She'll do either like chicken tenders or like she'll have me make like a ham sandwich or something on the Hawaiian rolls. We'll put those in the cooler and we'll
Yep.
have those at the track for us. But she's a little bit better than I am. But I don't know. There's something about that junk that just, it's what I need.
I mean, yeah, definitely. It's just how your body is. Like, if I was to do that with a cheeseburger on the track, I wouldn't like throw up because most people,
Yeah.
speed. Like, that's not me. It would almost just relax me. Like, it'll almost like lull me to sleep because when I eat something that heavy
Yep.
or that greasy, I'm usually like, oh, I want to take a nap type deal.
Well, I think
And
I
it
think
has a hard.
that's where we were talking though too. Like, I mean, for me, I get more nervous for any sim race than what I do for any real race. Even even watching Sydney go karting the first couple times, I think I have decided I get more nervous for sim racing than I do watching her race or any race that I've ever been in. And I think maybe the cheeseburger's the reason. I don't know, but it doesn't seem to bother me. But here, like when I sim race, absolutely, like I'm a nervous wreck before any sim race.
Mhm. I mean, uh, one thing too is like with between club racing and professional racing, you'll see some of the club racing guys. I mean, they'll eat that cheeseburger, they'll eat that fries,
Yep.
and they'll have a shake, and I'm just like, what in the?
No,
That's like,
I can't do ice cream before I get in the race car. I'll draw the line at, as much as I love Culver's of Cottage Grove, Wisconsin, I will not have that before I get in the car. That's on the drive home.
yeah, definitely. And I'm just sitting there watching, and I'm just like, fuck, I don't know how. I mean, he must have insides built
That's
like.
yeah, ice cream before you race is that's like dangerous material there. I don't know how people do that. Um,
I do have a sweet tooth, and I'll, on occasion, will have something like gummy bears or something, or gummy worms, or some sort of candy, just to
right. It's always too hot at the
like
track for me to have those. It'll melt. It all
yeah,
melts together, and then it's no good, or I got to throw it in the cooler, and then it's frozen,
yeah.
and it just takes too long.
That's
I don't.
fast, man.
Yeah, like I just don't do candy at the track, but like, we'll take a road trip up to Road America is like the furthest that we really drive, and that'll be, I think it's like 2.5 hours, something like that from here, 2 hours, and like we'll stop and we'll get gummy gummy worms and white cheddar popcorn occasionally, but like that's gone before we get to the track, and if I'm racing, I'm not eating that before I get in the car. It's I'll save my racetrack cheeseburger. Um,
So besides race cheeseburgers, is there anything else that you'd like will eat,
no,
or is it just the cheeseburger?
it's like the cheeseburger and then like the bags of chips, like I said. I mean, those are pretty much a staple, and I think a lot of it for me is like when I'm at the track, my adrenaline is going, and I'm just so pumped up that I don't even think about eating. So it's like this is a calorie, this is a calorie, this like that's really all I'm worried about is I know I'm burning it off. Um, so it's more or less just like eating out of a necessity than necessarily out of like enjoyment or anything like that for me.
And
Um,
it's just like that's why I'm just like on bananas, Cliff Bars, and like smoothies and whatever, right? It's
yeah,
just
see,
like,
I
and
just
I see.
yeah, bananas
Go ahead, man.
bananas at my house have never really been a big thing. Back when my mom was still alive, like she didn't even allow bananas in the house because at one point she had to like eat 2 or 3 bananas a day because her potassium was so low. And eventually it got to
Yeah.
the point where like the smell of bananas like physically made her sick, so she just didn't allow them in the house. So I just kind of, I don't know, I'm out on bananas. I don't really worry about it too much, but uh, you know, liquid IV, I usually limit myself to maybe 2 packets of that. When I'm at the track, never back to back, always spread out with some other bottles of water in between. We don't do a lot of sodas. Like it's just not something we really have too much. Sydney will take like a poppy or something like that with her to the track,
Yeah.
but I don't touch that stuff. I have a coffee on the drive if it's an early morning go-kart race. But other than that, like we just kind of stick to the basics. I don't know.
From Is there a difference between? I have never raced go-karts, but
Yep,
I had a go-kart and I just used it as a tool to just
yep,
put lap times in and, slow down the hands a lot,
yeah,
because at my earlier times, my hands were so quick. And that was one way I was able to get my hands to slow down. So I've never experienced a race in a go-karts. How is it compared to a race in a car? I mean, like your preparation for, I mean,
I've never personally raced in a go-kart, and that's something that I think makes it difficult for me to coach Sydney at times. But I think like the approach that I bring for my regular car is like it's a lot more stuff during the week, right? So like during the week on the regular car, you got nut and bolt check, you got to check all your fluids, you got to check, your brake pads, all that stuff, spark plugs, make sure everything's running right. Every couple nights you got to do an oil change and all that kind of stuff. The go-kart from a crew perspective, I absolutely love because we just run four-stroke Briggs 206 engine. So really over the course of a week, the only thing I really got to do is wipe it down, get all the chain lube,
grime.
yeah, the chain lube off of the car or off the cart, and then we do an oil change after every race. And it's instead of it being 6 7 quarts of oil, it's 13 ounces, 14 ounces, so like the go-kart is like, yeah, let's keep doing that. And I pretty much have decided that any racing Sydney does from here on out, we're gonna have to find the money to pay for somebody else to deal with the car because I mean, I'm spoiled with the go-kart, man. It's so nice. And now that Sydney's racing too, like I can make her do the work, so I don't even have to do all of it. It's just, you know, it's perfect. Sometimes we'll just leave it in the trailer until we show up at the track on Saturday morning and we'll unload it and all right, we got time here, hour before practice starts. Let's quick do an oil change and we're ready to go. Nothing really changes from track to track. Maybe a gear change, but that's what is it? 6 bolts, 8 bolts, something, 6 bolts, I think, like that. Swap those out, swap out your gear, and away you go. Where the big car, like the late model, even that, a gear change, if you want to go run a different track, that's a whole lot of work that you got to go through. And the go kart, it just seems like you kind of have your base set and you take it everywhere. How is that in the pickup car? Like, do you guys change the setup a lot, or is it just
Suspension wise, click here, click there, spring rates, change out the springs.
when you say a click here,
Um,
click there, like you're literally talking to me like I'm in iRacing and I'm like, oh yeah, just left click, right click. Like
oh, just like, just the
they're adjustable,
compression, the
right? Yep.
rebound.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know, um, just minor, like, it's the nice thing about it, and that's one of the things I like when I partnered up or not joint with Black Sheep Racing is they already have the history, the of champions already there. They already have the knowledge. It's already all it is just plug and play. I all I need to do is just hop in the car and just get some data and mild coaching and that's it. It's just let's go. Um
You guys share
and that's
you guys share data back and forth.
yeah,
What do you
definitely
guys
between
what do you guys use? Is it the Garmin or like Sydney's got the Micron from AIM for hers?
it's a V-Box.
V-Box. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So when you
So like
when you guys are looking at that, like you guys just all kind of come in from the session, you pull the data, you pull it up on the laptop or the TV in the trailer, and you guys just kind of go through it together? Or is it
yeah,
each individual driver on their own group session?
individual drivers.
Okay.
So usually like when we were at winter testing, um I would go in, he would either stay out or or he would come in too, and pretty much our coach would pretty much just go over, okay, hey, you should have done this here, you should have done this there, and it's usually brief. I mean, that's the nice thing about, I guess, having the experience. There's not really that much. It's just fine tweaks of what you need to do.
Yep.
Oh, you should go maybe a little faster on this corner, or stay in fifth in this corner, you know, just minor things.
We
And that's
do we do
some of
kind
the,
of the same thing with go-karting, is that we've got a
mm,
couple of teammates that, or I would call them teammates, but people that pit next to us that we can read their
mm.
micron data, and then sometimes it'll just be me and Sydney going over it. Sometimes it'll be Sydney and the other driver going over their data and kind of comparing points and seeing like where Sydney might be doing something a little bit quicker than what they're doing. And then two, on the sim side, I do a ton of driver coaching, which I've kind of talked to you about. And one of the tools that we use is a telemetry software that looks very similar to, all your real life softwares. But what's really nice is that like I can turn a lap here in Wisconsin on like a Saturday, and somebody in California can turn a lap on Wednesday, and they're able to look up my data and they can compare and they can see every inch on the track where I was, where they were, lift points, throttle points, and they can kind of see that. And one of the cool things that's starting to come from this is that there are companies out there that are creating AI driven software so that if you, Tank, are in Oregon and you don't necessarily understand how to read the data, instead of having to pay somebody like me to come in and be like, oh yeah, you need to do this, this, and this, the AI will use the reference file that it has, which is typically the person who builds the setup, and it'll compare it to your lap, and it will like physically tell you like break 200 feet later, or they were 3/10 faster in sector 3, so you need to work on your sector 3 basically. And it'll like break that down for you. And it's just kind of crazy how that stuff is happening. I don't think there's anything out there for real racing that breaks it down that way.
Garmin,
Garmin does?
the Catalyst. Yeah, Garmin Catalyst. It's not AI. I forgot how they measure it or how what they use, but I have one and I use it in the spec Boxster.
Yep.
And mostly I use it also just to because usually when I'm running a spec Boxster, I don't have the full show. I don't have the coach. It's just myself, my dad, and you know, if it's just we're just running a weekend, just a like a sprint race weekend, like a PCA event, um, I'll just use the Garmin, and that's pretty much it. That's like the only, and it will pretty much what I'll do is I'll put like a AirPod in one ear and then the radio for communication with my dad, and I'll just listen to the Garmin. It'll tell
Huh.
me, oh, break earlier or break
Yeah.
later, and it's been amazing too. It's definitely helped me get up to speed as far as I had a little break from racing, and I just needed that jump start to where just to get up to speed quicker. And I didn't want to pay for a coach, you know, especially on a club race. And if I have a coach out, I'd have to get more telemetry from buy more telemetry equipment for the spec Boxster, and it just becomes a whole big show at the end of the day. So that's why I've just said, you know what, just get the Garmin. Again, it's club racing, just you know, it's just for seat time
Yep.
and just practice.
Yeah.
And originally, you know, I would run it in sometimes when I was living in LA, we would go do like track days with our buddies,
Yep.
and we would take our street cars and we would all pull our Garmin's up, and it's quick, simple. You can review the data real quickly. You don't have to get a laptop. You don't have to, get a coach
Right.
to go over all of this. It's just here. This is what we're doing, and then we compare our notes, and there are days where I actually prefer that. I miss doing that instead of like bringing out the whole rig, bringing out everybody, and then it's
Right.
just but it's I enjoy it. I enjoy all aspects of the journey and the racing, which are just different. Just depends on the mood I guess I'm in,
Yeah, I was
or
just
what do I
pulling
feel
up
like racing that weekend.
Right. I was just pulling up, that's a good problem to have, but I was just pulling up the Garmin Catalyst stuff and I was kind of looking through that. And that's actually pretty cool how like you can turn on an on-track driving coach and it will like tell you the things audio wise what you're doing, not just like having it on the screen in front of you, seeing it like, plus, minus, like those types of things. It actually like actively kind of coaches you while you're in the car, which is kind of crazy to think
They have a
about.
version 2 now, and I was hoping they wouldn't come out with a version 2 because now I want to get one. And the nice thing about it, it's like all one unit.
Right.
Like the camera's into
It's integrated with it.
and yeah, and I love that because installing, I mean, the Garmin's easy to install. It's just work that you have to do, and I just prefer the new version. It's literally just stick it on the glass and go, you know.
Yep.
And I'm considering it because for the especially for the cup car, we don't usually like to touch anything on the cup car because it's homologated and it's we just don't want to, oh, why is this wire here,
Right.
automatic disqualification. So with that version, I would love to just be able to just throw it on the glass, do what I need to do, yank it out and go,
Would that be something you would
but
use? Could you use that in competition, or would that just be like for a test day
no,
type situation? Test day?
that's just a test day. And that would pretty much, I love the way it has all the telemetry and the data. But my dad's like, that's why you have V-Box. So just use the V-Box. Well, with the V-Box, you have to get the memory card, put it in the camera, take it out of
Oh,
the camera inside the yeah, and do the whole, load it. Literally with the new catalyst, you just pull it out. You can like literally review everything right there
yeah.
and then. I don't have to go grab a laptop.
Yeah,
It's
the
just
the
nothing.
Micron is nice. That Sydney has the AIM Micron because it's a Bluetooth signal or Wi-Fi signal, so we can leave it mounted to the go-kart, but you have to have a Windows-based laptop for it. And that's one of the big things that I don't like is that like I have to bring a laptop with me to the track. Otherwise,
Exactly.
and a Windows laptop at that. Like we are primarily a Mac family, so I have an old laptop from probably like 2015 that was my dad's old laptop that we take with us to the track, but the battery on it is terrible. So we have to like
Yeah.
manage how much time we're going to be on the laptop before it's going to die. If it's a
Yeah.
2-day show, I got to make sure I bring it home and recharge it before the second day. So it's just kind of a tough one there for us. But oh well, first world problems. We're still at a racetrack, so can't really complain that much.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much else. We're kind of at an hour, which is kind of where I told you I wanted to shoot for each week. What'd you think this week? I mean, it got a little easier for you?
Yeah. Today I'm just mentally drained and I love it. I'm getting comfortable being on a camera because I am one of the most, is it introvert?
Yeah.
I just like
There's a few layers of your onion.
antisocial.
Yeah, there's a few layers that have to be
Yeah,
peeled
exactly. We
back.
were talking
Yep,
about it last time.
yep,
So, and then just worrying about like, oh, what people are gonna think, and the comments, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't care. At the end of the day, I'm doing me.
yep.
I'm living life. I have the opportunity to race a cup car. It's been my dream. So, I really don't care anymore. It's just like, it is what it is.
That's what I told you. I told you, like,
Mhm.
the only people that are going to comment negative things are the ones that are jealous of the things that you're doing. And that's really kind
Mhm.
of been the way I've looked at stuff for quite a while now is, I'm going to do what I need to do for us to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. And
Yeah,
if
exactly.
somebody doesn't like that, like, all right, you don't have to watch my channel.
Exactly.
Ultimately, you came here. I didn't come to you. So, I mean, it kind of is what it
Exactly.
is. But
Yeah, definitely enjoyed this time. Definitely next week. I'll actually prepare myself a lot better, I think, mentally wise. Yeah, I just feel like today. I mean, I had to get coffee at 3:30 in the afternoon.
yeah,
I'm probably not gonna sleep tonight.
that's when you know it's a rough
Sensitive to
one.
caffeine. Um, like I'm like sitting here thinking about, did I answer that question correctly?
Yeah.
Did I just sound like I was just spitting shit out? It's just like, I hope I answered that correctly. Like, you know what I mean? Last week I was much better. Like I felt like I was much better. I was able to answer the questions right away, and and I'm like not second guessing myself type deal.
This week
This week I
was it was harder questions, and I haven't had to carry you as much. Like last week,
yeah,
I think we both kind of talked, and I was kind of pulling you back in and like having to be the narrator, the one to kind of bring things through. And what was really nice this week that I really it kind of like hit me was you flipped the script and you started asking me questions, which
yes,
that's new. So you're definitely getting more comfortable. You know, we've got goals. We both have goals. We both
yes,
have things that we know we need to accomplish. And, you know, if somebody's watching this and they want to help us accomplish our goals, there's a link in the description below. You guys can do
mhm,
that. If you're on iRacing and you need either road course or asphalt oval short track setups, you can join Team 53. Link will be in the description below. We've got a Patreon for Team 53 where you can subscribe. It's primarily geared for iRacing setups, but if you just want to subscribe and help us with this show, help us kind of continue doing things, you can do that. Um, we're going to have some things coming up for you here, I think, in the next month or so, where people will be able to help support a little bit some of the things that you have going on. And we'll go into that.
yeah,
I think I'll make that a big focus for next week is to kind of talk about Race with Us and what that
mhm,
means to you and how that integrates in with you getting back on track. And that's a big piece that we haven't even kind of begun to explore, I don't feel like. So
no,
yeah, I mean, unless you got anything else, I'm ready to call it.
yeah. By the way, the only reason why I switched it up and I asked you questions because I just felt like I needed to do my part, and that was my way of doing my part, and
That's the
and
first time you're
believe me, I'll
doing
be
your part. No.
exactly right. So this time or next week, I'll be prepared. I'll
Yep,
have the right mental state. I'll have probably
you
my
won't be.
coffee a lot earlier, so
Yeah.
we'll we'll be ready next week. We'll
You
be
did
fine.
have you did have an early morning phone call this morning, so we'll allow it
Yes. Mhm.
for you to be a little sleepy this week. But we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah,
Like I
these
said,
time zones kill me, man.
uh, you're telling me I'm on Central Time Zone. It's almost 7 o'clock at night here. But make sure you guys hit like, subscribe, follow us along. If you're interested in sponsoring Tank, if you want to help me out with Sydney with everything we've got going on here, link will be in the description below, and we will see you guys next week.